Well, here's the thing, Simon. After what happened in Russia, the semi-finals stage of the World Cup when they went out to Croatia.
Yep.
We'll learn from that. We'll learn from that.
Yes.
The next World Cup. And I know this sounds like a bitter Scot just having a dig at England, but I'm not. Well, did they learn from that? No. We all go to Qatar and England went out.
Well, they did learn from it because they got to the semi-finals of the World Cup and they got to the finals of the European Championships, and for once, potentially on paper, they got knocked out of a tournament, albeit we think they should have beaten the French and the opportunity to do so. They got knocked out by, for once in a tournament, on paper, someone that you really don't expect to be able to beat, which was the French side. So you can take something from it, but that's us being generous. Because when you're in the international football, the business of international football, and you are one of the leading nations in the world, and you don't win tournaments for 50, 60 years, and you get opportunities to land in the final stages with very favourable draws, the lesson that you can learn is how to win. And I don't believe that we have a winner in our dugout. And so that, for me, takes out the component that no one can ever program into anything in life, which is that X factor that makes somebody different from another person, which makes Mancini be able to outthink Southgate on the side of a touchline to win a European Championship final.
I'm quite sure Gareth is desperate to be a winner. And desperate to be recognised as a winner.
But we're all desperate to do things. That doesn't mean we can. And the key component is one thing, we can all be busy fools. The object of the aim is to be winners. And there's only a few of them about. And when you see them, you've got to hang on to them for grim death.
What do you see this as tonight? Is tonight the start of a new dawn, or is it the start of a final one for Southgate?
I think it's probably more the same. I don't think we're going to, unless someone's going to have a personality transplant, we're going to see probably the same. And given the nature of the game and given the opposition, it'll be a difficult game. The environment will also play a part because it's quite a hostile place to be, and all the background noise behind the game has created a temperature that will probably be ramped up even higher by the Italians reading their own press.
Yeah.
I don't expect anything of them. If England win, I wouldn't be surprised. I know this sounds ridiculously uninformative, but if they win, I wouldn't be surprised. If they lost, I wouldn't be surprised. If they drew and bored the pants off us all, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but you see, this might surprise you. Victory tonight in Italy, will mean only Sir Alf Ramsey has been quicker to a half-century of wins in charge of England.
And that's great.
He's got England into a good position,
and that's great.
When it comes to the stats,
and it's fair to say that if we want to, we can all use stats to make an argument in our favour, or we can dissect the opposition that we played against and compare and contrast. If we want to do a proper analysis of how people have done as England managers, get the opposition, put them line for line against one another, and say, what did Alf Ramsey do against the opposition, and what did Gareth Southgate do against his opposition? I don't think playing some of the pub sides that we played in World Cup qualifiers and European Championship qualifiers suggest that we're ultimately seeing a new dawn with Gareth Southgate. What we've seen is a far more media-centric football manager that relates to an ability to be able to communicate better. Right, we've had previous managers that are at odds with the English media, that are at odds with everything, and find themselves in a totally. So remember the old Yellow Pages adverts where Bobby Robson phoned up Graham Taylor and Graham Taylor phoned up Terry Venables and sent them a cake with a lion's head in it. That was the perception of the England manager's job. Now Gareth Southgate's managed to smooth that. Iron those creases out and find a better way to communicate. But it's beginning to turn again because people are saying that they're not comfortable with what Southgate does. We are in the last hurrah. We cannot not be, because if we'll qualify, if we don't qualify.
So if you're in the last hurrah, does that not unite everybody? Does that not unite every England fan, the England media, even the Gareth naysayers like you?
Or does it make you a lame duck? Right, because ultimately, on one hand, we say in domestic football, if people's contracts are running down, they're in the last hurrah, then what do players play for them for? In this instance, we're in the last hurrah from the point of view we cannot have the Gareth Southgate apologists and sympathisers, the Danny Mills of the world, that pop out of the ether with their uninformed nonsense, that tell us that ultimately he's a winner. So with that in mind, winning means winning. So we are in a situation now.
I'm just counting down 9,
before he pops up with his
7,
rubbish.
6, I'm just waiting for a text.
Yeah, but we're in a situation now where the last hurrah means you need to win this tournament coming up. Anything other than winning this tournament has to be, with due respect and no agenda attached to it, the end of the conversation.
Is it your belief England will win the tournament?
Not while I've got a hole in my backside, no.
Oh, thank you for that.
Sorry,
That's quite graphic.
There's an image for you all. Talking about backsides, how's it going for you?
That was a lovely image. I must admit, I think now, that more than ever before, I would have to say that amongst the players, there will be almost an irresistible drive and desire to win a tournament, because this is probably the final one for Gareth.
And so let's have this right. You believe that the deep-seated sentiment these players will have is that we must do it for our Gareth. we're so committed to our Gareth that there will be no stone unturned. There'll be no barriers. There'll be no obstacles he won't overcome. Rubbish. They'll revert to type. They'll do what they do. And if they do what they do better, then they'll win something. The $64 million question is...
They convinced him to stay, remember?
Please, don't be so bloody silly. What convinced him to say is the fact that he's got a very good job in the England manager setup. There is a level of competency and a level of ambition in Gareth Southgate that's propelled him into a position where he was a really rather average centre-half that got himself into the England setup. And here we are now as an England manager. So with all that in mind, of course Gareth Southgate's got balls. Of course he's got substance. But we're not interested in all that. What we're interested in, has he got the ability to win something?
And do you think now going into this at last he will? He'll show that?
No, you know I don't.
Okay. Italy against England is live in talkSPORT tonight. Incidentally, what did you have for your breakfast this morning?
Nothing.
You are flying, boy. It's when you wear that pink
Coffee.
handkerchief.
All right.
That's the only thing that seems to fire you up. Going up to 10:30.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.